All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith again, back with my good friend Ben Barber, and this is part 8, episode series, whatever you want to call this, part 8 of this series that we've been doing on making sure that you guys understand what to do, and equally as importantly of why these things are crucial when it comes to having success and allowing you guys to go out there and have the knowledge and again, that information that you need to go out there and crush it when it comes to REO, AKA working with banks to be their listing agent to list their foreclosures, as well as short sales. And that's what this whole series has been about. And this is actually our last episode in this series. And you guys, if you haven't watched 1 through 7, go back and watch those, because you got to understand, you guys, it's like building a Lego set, or whatever. If you're putting together a piece of furniture from IKEA or whatever, it's like you go through instruction 1, then you go to 2, then you go to 3. And if you're a person like me that didn't always used to pay attention to instructions, and you get to the end and you realize you got to rip the whole damn thing apart and rebuild it, and you go through those frustrations, like, that we don't want to do that. That's inefficient, ineffective. It only hurts us. Each one of these builds off of each other. These are the natural progression steps that you need to understand when it comes to REO and short sales. And yeah, in this series, we spent a little bit more time on REO just because there's a lot more that goes into REO that you need to understand. Short sales is it's a different process than traditional sales, but there's a lot more similarities, and it's not quite as complex as that REO world, the foreclosure world as a listing agent, right? So last week we talked about now the property's vacant, whether you had to do an eviction, cash for keys, whatever that looks like. Okay, now you're doing your initial broker price opinion, your assessment. You're coming up with and delivering your professional opinion on what the repairs, if any, should be done to the property, managing that process and so forth. And for this session now, in session 8 here in series 8, whatever you want to call these, we're picking up right there. Okay, boom. Your asset manager for the bank, right, who's going to make the decision based on the data that you sent them. Now they're like, okay, hey, here's going to be our strategy, right? Here's what we're going to do. Here's this price. Now it's ready for market, right? So whether it's repairs or complete, which we talked about last week, all of that. I mean, now the house is ready for market. What's next? Because again, there's different steps. You have to do all the same things that you do in a traditional listing, but then there's a lot of extra added layers. And we're going to break these down and make sure that, again, you guys understand what these are, so that way you know what the process is, know what to expect. And Ben and I are going to share our top tips, to make sure that you guys have success with this. So, with that being said, Ben, and I'll let you kick this off, but okay, obviously properties, we get that message from our asset manager. Right. Okay. Property's ready to rock, right. Obviously we got to do our marketing photo, like get all that ready to rock and roll, get it listed. Hopefully we've already got that done, right. But then once that property's listed, right, what are the things that agents need to really understand and be prepared for, to make sure that they're having success with this?
As we've gone through these series, and I know you and I have talked back and forth where it's been very interesting to come from the operation side and then, talk with you, and then where I'm an agent now and realizing just some of the redundant stuff that we had agents have to do. That at the time, it was just as simple as rejecting a task and firing a message back to the agent. And now being on this side of it and realizing the amount of work that can actually go into it to service the outsourcers, I think that what we have to do is it's funny, I put that on do not disturb, but I guess not. Once we're up and running, the number one thing I think is you have to set things up according to the client, because if like I see so many that are listed and they don't say the owner on record, or there's no instructions on how to submit an offer. There's no addendums, like the VA addendum's not in there, or that specific REO addendum's not there. So when you're dealing with multiple offers, these documents may come in and now you've got to reject these and send them back to make corrections because the name is incorrect. Like we saw that at VA all the time. It was very specific, and people would change it to the Department of Veterans Affairs, and it was just Department of Veterans Affairs. And we'd have to reject that whole contract and send it back and have them correct that. And it's just a lot of back and forth. And at the time, the VA only allowed wet signatures. So now the agents are going back and trying to get all this information. So as you're, like you said, you're getting your listing photos, but then you're setting up your MLS according to whatever client you're looking at. Like what, if there's a first look period, and for anybody who doesn't know, first look period is just some outsourcers are going to say, look, for the first certain amount of time when the home is on the market, we are only going to take offers from owner occupant buyers, right? So it's going to give them typically like 14 days, 15 days before investors can come in and take a look at that property, unless the property is being marketed specifically to an investor. If it's a total rehab and you don't want to put any repairs in, but you have to understand that so that you can communicate that information on the MLS and just save yourselves a ton of time. But that's the number one thing, like just invest in good property photos. I didn't see a lot of good property photos, and I've looked at 30,000 plus assets, and there were probably only 100 or so that actually had professional photos. Most of them people are just running through with their own camera, and then with the smartphone, we had anticipated when we were building the system saying it would be really nice if we could just have an app where people could just take a photo of the property and we could upload it, and that would count as our marketing photo. But where you and I have talked saying, like, there's other ways, like REO is a fantastic business, but there's ways to build your business outside of REO. And that is that you now have a repaired property that you can leverage for all these other things. So I say invest in good property photos, like $100. Get good property photos done, and you're going to stand out more than everybody else. So yeah, get the property photos, get all the information listed. If there are specific disclosures you need, upload those to your MLS so people have them. I've seen some of the best agents are giving all the information on how to submit the properties. I think one of the main things, like, is really managing that property. Like that's where the agent I really think can excel, or they can really shoot themselves in the foot, is managing that property. Like the last thing you want an asset manager to do is get a phone call and say, there's a code violation because the grass is over, it's now 9 inches tall, or there's a broken window, your asset's not secure. And, you're going to have tasks. The outsourcers are going to have a task-based system, unless you're working with like a credit union, and then they're just going to count on you to do all this stuff. But one of the things that I saw that always separated the average agent from the top tier ones is waiting for those tasks. Like, I'm sure you didn't wait for tasks. It was every week, I'm going to go hit these properties. I'm going to do my property photos. So as we're doing those weekly inspections, we're looking at, is the property ready? Are there any, concerns with the property? Are there any environmental concerns? Is the property secure? Are the elements inside of it? How many people have shown it? What's the feedback been? But then, are there more violations? Is the water on? Is the power on? Like all these things that most agents are waiting for the outsourcer to tell them, go do this.
Yeah.
And the ones that excelled said, I'm at this property now. I'm going to take my weekly photos. I'm going to look at my feedback. I'm going to make sure that the property is in good condition. The Manzuri group, one of my favorite groups out in California, they're the ones that gave me the idea that they always carried around Clorox bleach. So they're like, they have those bleach wipes. And so whenever they did their property inspection, they would walk through and they would bleach wipe, use those wipes on all the surface. So it always, you're not depending on that property preservation company to make you look good. You're saying, I'll go out there, and if something needs to be taken care of, I'm going to take care of it. But really, once you're going, man, that weekly inspection is the only way that the asset manager knows anything about the property, because we're not in the area. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
And before we go, I just want to, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but before I just want to hit on a couple important things when it comes to getting that property ready to list.
Oh, yeah.
And then, then we can go a little bit deeper in like the weekly inspections, a little bit of the offer process, what the updated BPOs might look like, and so forth, and kind of break those down, but I would just want to make sure that everybody that's watching and listening to this understood the importance of the things that you said about being prepared when you're listing that property. Right. And again, I'm not going to hit on this too hard because, Ben and I have already covered this so heavily in earlier videos in this series, or earlier, podcasts, wherever you're listening or watching this in this series, about, treating your foreclosures and your short sales just like you would $1 million listing, right? Great professional photos, whatever. Cause you guys, this is number one, it's a game of speed. Right. Like you want to do everything you possibly can to get that property sold as possibly is you're going to get rewarded more and more and more, the more that you can do that. And it's the right thing to do, right, for your clients and so forth. Plus then, as Ben mentioned, now you have a better marketing tool to go out there and leverage. That looks better, shows better, to go out there and leverage and generate those leads from it. One of the things that separates pros from amateurs in this business, meaning, you know, professional agents that crush it, make a shit ton of money versus, you know, 90+%, you know, the 90 percentile of this industry that struggles and are just amateurs and suck in this industry. I don't mean that they suck. I mean that their business sucks, their bank account sucks, you know, right? Is they understand the power of leveraging. Like every activity that you do, every piece of business that you do, isn't just to get that deal. You know, if you do it right, it capitalizes and morphs into more opportunities. Every listing that you have should generate, you know, 2 to 3. If you're not generating at least 2 deals in addition to that listing off of every listing that you generate, you're doing something wrong, you know, right? And then same with every single buyer client and so forth. So you're able to leverage all those things. But then, enough said on that, you know, right? What I really want to hit on is, you know, the importance of what Ben talked about of making sure that you know your bank's protocols, what contracts that they're utilizing, what they need to have done, what those instructions are, and you're communicating that extremely simplistically, easy to understand, easy to follow, and giving every, you know, all your cross-sell agents all the tools, information, resources that they need, right? So when they submit that offer to you, everything is done correct. Yeah, right. But then from there, don't like it's your guys. This is up to you guys. Yeah, right. Not your asset manager. Like you never freaking, you know, if I get an offer from an agent, maybe they forget a portion of the bank required addendums in addition to the purchase contract, or as been mentioned, they have the name wrong of the actual owner. I know that's going to get rejected. Yeah, right. Like, okay, I'm going to go through those, QC those with a fine tooth comb, or my admin team is going to do that. You know, right. So we catch it, so we can get it corrected before I go send it to the asset manager. So when I send it to my asset manager for that review, right, everything is perfect. So they can either accept it, or they can counter it, or they can reject it. You know, right. Like, don't have this back and forth, man. Every time you got back and forth going on, dude, like it creates pain for your asset manager, and it's going to lessen their perceived value of you, your skill sets. And it's going to look, all right. So we just fired a cleaning lady. Right now, this lady did a good job, but man, she just had a negative attitude when she'd come in. She was always just an emotional wreck, and my wife got so sick and tired of hearing it. You know, right? It just won her even though she did a good, you know, decent job. You know, right? But it was just kind of this constant, like every time it built up to being a little bit more pain, a little bit more pain, a little bit more pain. You know, right? To the, you know, boom. And maybe that's a bad analogy. I don't know, but you know, it's that kind of same thing. And I look at this with my staff, right? And here is a way, you guys, you got to understand. We've talked about this in past videos of every time you're completing these tasks, every time that you're doing something, at least in the REO world, you got to think that this is your prospecting. Like, yeah, you complete those tasks, but this is another element of prospecting and follow-up and so forth, because it's going to lead to you getting more deals. The more that they can rely on you, the easier that you make their life, the more that they can trust you. They're going to do everything in their freaking power to load you up, you know, right? And pull assets from other agents. Ben's talked about in this series, how he's yanked 30 assets from one agent and gave him to his favorite agent, you know, right? Or so forth in that world. Because why? Because he can rely on that person. You know, right? So you got to be resourceful. You got to take initiative. Like Ben said, don't wait for tasks. You take initiative. You understand the process, just like with employees, man. I mean, and it's sad to say, but unfortunately, 95% of people, agents, staff, employees, and so forth, do not take initiative. They just wait to take orders. They settle around and twiddle their freaking thumbs. And dude, I even have staff in my own world right now throughout my different businesses that operate that way, and it drives me freaking crazy. Yeah, right. Like the second I find the right replacement for them, they're not that I'm going to say that I'm actively always looking to replace them, but you know, right, like they'd be first to be on the chopping block. Yeah, right. Because they're like great people, great employees, great leaders, or whatever, are those that are resourceful, those that are take initiative, those that anticipate, you know, right? Like, okay, if I'm, you know, well, we'll just say with the asset manager, I need to anticipate what my asset manager wants. So I got to have clarity on what they want, what they need, you know, right? And without being asked to do things, I'm going to take the initiative to go above and beyond.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And grow my skill sets and do things at a level of excellence, right? Because I know that's going to lead to more money, and that carries into any aspect of careers, jobs, whatever. And that's how you go out there and create success. So you got to do that. It becomes so crucial, so important. You guys can't stress that enough. So, all right, enough on that. Now we got into, okay, properties listed, rock and roll. Now you got your weekly property inspections. That and has been said, some banks that you might have relationships with, may not have you, like, this may not be a task that they do. I didn't work with any credit unions personally, so every bank that I've worked with over my career, this has been a part of like an actual task that's due, right? At least to my memory. But we got our weekly property inspections. You got your monthly, what they call MMRs, monthly marketing report, which is like a mini BPO. And then you got typically your updated BPOs are typically, every 90 days or so, if that asset is still sitting on the books. However, if you've been paying attention to these other series, you don't want that to happen. That is not a damn good thing, right? However, sometimes it happens, right? So, and so with that being said, I know I interrupted you, Ben, when you were talking about the weekly property inspections, but, again, and why I love these is because you come from the asset manager side. And like you've talked about, you guys got to understand that you got an asset manager in most cases that doesn't have real estate experience. When I say real estate experience, they're not a realtor, right? They don't have, the experience that we have. They don't know your market. They might be living 1,000 miles away, 2,000 miles away, 3,000 miles away. Right. So you're having to paint a picture and supply them information with not knowing your local market, with not having real estate expertise, and being 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 miles away from you. Right. So, what are, in a perfect world, and I know that you kind of already talked about a couple of the things, but like, what are the main things as an asset manager that really impressed you, other than, of course, getting them freaking done, right? But what were the other things that like allowed you to be like, wow, like this is above and beyond what you want to now give this person more properties?
Yeah, great question. And I love the feedback you gave. And I'm just going to mirror what you said. That's why I love that we both come from different sides of it. Because the minute you and I start talking REO, I go back into that ops mentality of I'm seeing the 65 tasks that I have to get done. And so I love you bringing in your experience with thousands of REOs on the other side, with that. So I'll tell you what we look for on the ops side, and then you fill in the gaps there. But the things that always impress me the most, number one, is something nobody thinks about. And I know I've mentioned it before, but when you're doing a monthly marketing report, give an update on any list comps or under contract comps that you used. Like, nobody's doing that. Like, if you used this as my competition and you said this property is located in the same neighborhood and it's listed at $200,000, well, I want to know what's happened to that property in 30 days. Because if it's still listed, then we probably missed the mark if we're still listed too. Nobody's doing that, right? Everybody's just like, well, let me go source new comps. Like, no, give me an update on some things. And so that's what I like to see, is that it feels more like this natural transition of the asset, because we are pricing, like, when we're doing sales valuations for going to do a listing, for me, I'm looking at under contract sold, and I'll look at what's active for, just to give them an idea of what the competition is. But in the REO world, we're looking at actives very significantly, because we may actually own multiple properties in that same community, and we don't want to bid against ourselves. Right. So that becomes very important to track these actives as they go under contract and if they fall out. But really what we're looking for is, we're looking for feedback, and we're looking for good photos of the property. We talked about this with doing the repairs. I think we talked about it during the prop pres too, where, if we're walking into a room, there's so many that are so similar. We're not just snapping a photo of the room. We're like, hold the pen up to give a comparison if there's damage, give some kind of reference. So the asset manager knows what's going on. And I think you said it, I would harp on it again and again. They're 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 miles away with no experience. Everything we do has to paint the picture for them. They can't just be assumed they're going to understand what you're talking about, right? Like, I really think that is key. So having good comparables on your monthly marketing report, having updates, getting good pictures of the photos, and then giving honest feedback that you're receiving from the agents. And it can be a little archaic. Some are still using sign-in sheets and using mechanical lock boxes, which, total side note, if anybody is listening, never post the outsourcer's mechanical code on the MLS, because they will take all your assets right away, right? That's like the number one thing that opens us up to vandalism and destruction and filing insurance claims. And it's a horrible way to do it. So, If you're going to have a mechanical box, that's fantastic. Use your Supra as well. Never publish that code. So, but from the monthly marketing report, it's really just pretty simple. Like you're actually going in and you're having to explain why it didn't sell, really. But I also think that as you're building that relationship, the best agents I worked with, they had a relationship like you and I have, where you can tell me something I'm doing or I did that didn't produce the best results, and I can tell you the same thing. So I have no problem with an agent coming back and saying, hey, look, I told you we were listed too high. Here's what the market's done. We've only had a handful of showings because of that. And now you're giving an opportunity to correct a price now. Okay, we've tested the home for 30 days. Here's where I think we need to be to get a contract in the next week or so. Once you've built that rapport, those are the conversations, and that's the value add, is because now you're not just a name, somewhere in my Rolodex. You're a partner that I'm saying, hey, help me. What happened on this home? And being accountable. Like if you told me it was going to sell at 250 and we listed at 250 and it didn't sell, now we're taking a reduction. We've said this too. It's okay to be wrong, right? Like I want people to understand that it's okay to be wrong. You're not going to make one mistake and they're going to say, oh, this dipshit, I'm going to take everything. Like that's never how it worked. The ones that I took a lot of assets from, it was agents that I would call them and tell them specifically what I wanted them to do. They wouldn't do it. I'd call them again. They wouldn't do it. And it was just like this, pounding your head against the wall. And you say, I'm going to give this to somebody who gets it, who communicates with me, who works with me. But I never once said, I'm only going to work with someone who's perfect. So if you can own up to any kind of, I missed the mark here, but as long as you know how you got there, that's the most important thing to me. Hey, look, I used A, B, and C comps. I was looking at these different repair bids. Historically, this has sold well. If you have a reason that you based your decision on, good or bad, then that's creating that communication line, that's creating that partnership, and you're not going to be penalized for that, because we can make adjustments, right? We can make adjustments at 30 days. Some asset management companies can make a price adjustment at 14 days if there have been no offers, right? And then I think the last one too is just understand what your asset managers are going to do. It's so funny. Not a lot of them have experience, but a lot of them are pretty lazy too when you get right down to it. And they get a ton of tasks. And I know I was with one outsourcer where after 30 days, they could make a $5,000 reduction without it coming up to me to approve. And there were some that were just behind in their tasks. And so agents would just the asset managers would just go through and just boom, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000 without really looking at it. And those guys didn't last very long. But, it's funny. I get on tangents. I don't even know where I was going with that whole point. It's just saying like, we're going to reduce at 30 days. But for me, I always looked at it as I'm going to correct it. Because look, when you come in with a value, your initial valuation, it's just opinion. And when I look at it and I say, here's what I'm going to market it at, it's just my opinion. But once I've had 30 days on the market, I now have a market response to that property. And that's better than opinion. Because if I'm priced too high and nobody's offering, the market's telling me I'm too high. It's not theoretical at that point. If I've got a ton of offers and they're all low, it's not theoretical at this point. The market's telling me I've overpriced this property. Does that make sense? So I know that I didn't mean to cover that much stuff on MMRs, but I think that's
like it, man. Like it, dude. So yeah, just to piggyback on a few things there, I'm going to circle back to the weekly property inspections first. Just to kind of add a couple things that you said there, because why our relationship is so awesome and why, I love doing these with you is, as you talked about already is, right. Like you come from the asset manager side, right. I came from the agent side, and being able to fully understand both roles. And dude, to be throughout this whole time, like I met you after, you had already exited that industry after a decade and started building your real estate business. And we met through that, right. Dude, I hope that, all of you that are watching and listening understand the goal of having this knowledge. Yeah. Right. Even though I was one of the top and became one of the top, during 2008, really through 2012, during the Great Recession, quickly became one of the top REO and short sale agents in the country. Because we just had to, especially in my marketplace, for me to continue to thrive. We just had to pivot, but I never had this knowledge. You guys, like, even though I had a ton of success and, selling, some thousands of distressed properties during that time frame, you guys are going to have a huge one up on that over me and what I had, right? Because again, all those things that Ben is sharing with you guys here from the asset manager role, he would have got fired for sharing this stuff with you. And we talk about how asset managers are bonused, how they're compensated, how they're penalized from their bosses. like, dude, like that shit isn't allowed to be discussed. So, I want you guys to understand the gold with this, right? So then, and again, just piggyback with your weekly inspections. Number one, do them. Don't be freaking lazy. And I'll tell you guys, I have been out. So not all banks do this, but like the bigger ones that I worked with did. And I'll give you an example with Fannie Mae, which was my biggest account over the years with Fannie Mae Direct. They would come out every so often. And sometimes those asset managers are coming to their territories and previewing their properties and you don't know it. Other times, right. I've had it where like they're out there and I don't know it, right. So you always got to be fully prepared for that. Then there's been times where I've just went with, like, Ben calls me up as an example. He's my asset manager. He's in town, staying here at this hotel. I go pick him up and we go visit every single one of the assets that he has with me while he's in town, which I always love that because that gave us a great chance to know each other, eat lunch together, spend time together, right. And then I've also done caravan tours, right. Where there's a series, a group of asset managers, and they take all their local agents, right, that they're feeding their properties to, and we all go visit caravan style, kind of everybody's listings. And I've been there on that caravan tour, not one of my properties, but with another REO agent where we walked in there and there's a green pool. Yeah. And dude, like I've never seen such an insane ass chewing and such an insane, like you can guarantee that whole person's portfolio was ripped out from underneath them, right. And never saw a lick of that business again. And just to put that in perspective, Fannie Mae alone, I mean, from 2008 to 2012, I don't know if that one account, I had less than $800,000 of commissions on any given year from that one account. So this is big, this is big money that if this stuff's pulled away. So number one, do them, understand that they're going to QC the process. They're going to inspect what they expect. You may not know it, whatever, but plan on that, right? Plus, dude, you guys got to understand that you've chosen to take on the responsibility. You've chosen to, okay, I'm going to commit to these things. I'm going to do these things. I'm giving you my word that I'm going to do these things. In exchange for that, you're going to give me listings and make my commission, right? So like you committed to these things, honor your fucking word and do the shit that you tell them you're going to do and do it well, right? It's an integrity thing. Like, are you somebody that's, like that's stealing if you don't do it, in my opinion? That's no different than if I have an employee that I'm paying for 40 hours a week of work, and they're only working 20 and then they're fucking around on Facebook and, doing all of their shit. Well, that's stealing out of my cash register. It's no different. Right. So if like, are you a person of integrity or not? Right. But then from there, going above and beyond, doing your inspections right. And because I can tell you guys, man, I can't tell you how many times over the years, I've walked into the front door and there are squatters running out the back door. Yeah. Right. So you have squatter issues, you have vandalism that happens, you have, and just other shit, right. Just whatever, things get dirty, things get sloppy. They're not always sending their cleaners in. Their cleaners don't always do a good job, right. So as Ben talked about with, like, we always had a toolkit. Right. And when I say we is, look, you guys, I did this stuff personally as long as I needed to do it. So let's just say for a couple months each role until I really got it down. I was able to develop process, develop checklists, develop a system, and then I hired people out to do it. So very quickly, I was paying people, $15 an hour to go do my property inspections for me. They had their checklists, they had everything they had to upload, they had everything with them. But I always made sure we had a kit, like little things like, okay, well, if I have a sign on there and there's a sign writer and the sign writer clip breaks, okay, well, they could go out there and reclip it, zip tie it, right? Weed spray, trash bags to pick up trash, brooms, like all those little things so they could make sure it was good to go. So, doing your weekly inspections, have everything there because you don't want to have to go back and forth, right? So, have a set of tools and you'll quickly realize the little things that you need, right? So you're not having to go run up to Home Depot and come back and just take that initiative and do those things, right? When you're there. So doing those, right. Then when it comes to your monthly marketing reports, everything that Ben said, the only thing it's not really just adding, it's just kind of, piggybacking on what he said of again, you guys just go above and beyond. Don't do the minimum, dude, right? So, think about this, like, okay, with my traditional listings, if that property's not selling, if we're not under contract or whatever, every single week, this specific time, every one of my sellers know that they are going to get a detailed update of what's going on in that with that property, right? So, and there's 3 parts to it I do every single week, right? Number 1 is the number of showings that we had, along with all of the feedback from the agents and their potential clients, buyer clients. And I'm very aggressive about getting that feedback, right? Then number 2, like what I'm doing to go out there and market the property and working hard for them, right? So because if I'm not communicating that to them, it doesn't matter how hard I'm working, they may not see it, they may not understand it, and they may not think I'm doing a good job. So I'm always, okay, here's what we're doing, here's where we're at, here's what we're marketing it. The third part is then my professional recommendation of what we need to do and what needs to happen and what changes need to happen in order to go out there and get their property sold. And I tell them right up front of, look, I work for you, you are the boss, right? And that's how this relationship goes. It's your home, I work for you, you are the boss. However, I have a fiduciary duty to always give you my professional opinion of what it is going to take for you to accomplish your real estate goals. Now, you may not like my opinion, you may like my opinion, whatever. And look, again, you're the boss, I work for you, so you don't have to listen to my opinion. But every single week, if your property's not selling, if we're not under contract, whatever, every single week, you are going to get my professional opinion. And again, you can choose to ignore it, whatever, but I just want to make sure that you're clear. So if they list it high every week, it's, okay, you need to drop price 25 grand, you drop price 25 grand, here's the comps that support that. Again, it's their choice to listen. But if you lead the process, you set those expectations and you tell them the reasoning of that, then they're cool with it and get it. So this MMR is no different than that, right? Of painting that picture of what that marketing strategy needs to do. Look, you guys as real estate professionals, it's our job to accomplish our clients' real estate goals. Right. Yeah, right. Like we are, I look at us as we are guides that exist to facilitate our clients on having a successful experience and accomplishing their goals, which happens to be buying and selling real estate. Right. So we got to do that, and we got to do it at a high level and really paint that picture. And as Ben said, man, don't be afraid to admit when you're wrong. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't have that fear of being stupid. Right. If you're like, hey man, in my initial BPO, I know I said this, and at that time, based on the data and the information I had, that was because at the end of the day, like it's all of our best guess of where a property is going to sell. It's really testing the market. None of us, there's no science to it. Right. But then, right, if that's was my best guess at that time, and now I have new data, new information that supports something different, and if it's in that client's best interest, I'm going to make sure they have the info and data, even if it totally contradicts what I first told them, right? But I'm going to, of course, articulate that to them and make sure that they know that. And you always got to put the client first, man. Client before commissions, client before ego, client before making you look stupid. Like none of that other stuff matters. As Ben said, man, from the asset manager role, and you guys are hearing it from somebody that, was one of the most successful asset managers in the country, but then also was a senior asset manager leading these departments, creating the internal systems for most of the big, banks out there that they still use today and so forth. And hearing it from his mouth, his lips to your ears of, that's okay. They get that nobody's perfect and they don't have that expectation, but they do have that expectation that you're always going to be straight with them and upfront with them and give them your professional opinion. So, making sure that you hit on that. So then really the last thing, I guess, is, I guess there's 2 last things here, which we'll be quick on, but you got your updated BPOs. Now, last week in the last session in series 7 of this series, or episode 7, we went really deep into BPOs. Is there any tips in the updated BPO that you recommend that are in addition to what we talked about? Or is it really just all the things that we talked about in episode 7?
No, I think that if you're getting, I think number 1, agents need confidence. And this is what I always teach anybody that's on my team is that, that's why I'm a big fan of being a BPO agent, because experience is the best teacher. And you've got to be confident in them. If you're ever going to be confident in something, it's that 90-day value. And if you're not, if you've got somebody on your team that needs to take a look at it, but that 90-day value has to be right, because now we're looking at moving it to auction. And when we move it to auction, everybody loses except the auction company. So I think it's just coming in and dialing in even more. Like when I teach valuations, I always say I'm casting a very tight net because I want to see activity on the street more than I care about similar properties. Like I'll take a try and a split and a rambler. I want to see what that street's doing, because as an asset manager thousands of miles away, that tells me the neighborhood, right? If I'm looking at low days on market for everything in there, that helps me. It's just got to be as dialed in as possible. I know we gave a ton of really good tips on the BPO. With that 90-day one, it's funny because I always know like the things not to say, like don't put in there an automatic 5% REO discount. I mean, that'll get it kicked out right away. And I would just go hire somebody else to do a new BPO and move it over to them. And I've seen that happen before. People are like, REO discount, REO discount. And without justifying your adjustments, they're going to be rejected, they're going to be kicked out. But otherwise, I think we covered everything. It's just like, the best thing about that 90-day BPO is now we know what the market has told us about that property for the last 90 days. And we have all this feedback from anybody that has shown it that we can now incorporate into our BPO. And I think we got to make sure we're doing that. And like you said, I think that, it's a little different because they don't get to see all the hard work that you're doing. And the only time we always say it, a no news is a good news situation, because most of the people I remember in the beginning stuck out because something was wrong. And now I had to call and have a hard conversation with them. But the agents I really got along with would do all the strategies that you talk about. They would send me a weekly update and they'd say, hey, just want to let you know I did this and this and this at the property. Hey, I got this reduced. Hey, here's how I've been marketing this. Here's how many people came to my open house. And they're very politely waving their hand and saying, dude, I'm working my ass off for you, without saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. But it's giving me the information I know. So in that 90-day BPO, now it's a chance to bring all that to the forefront. What marketing have you done? What has been the response to that? What has been the market response? And now where are your absolute best comparables for a fast sale? Like, what would it take? That's it. Like at 90 days, you have to tell them, if you give me this list price, I can put it under contract tomorrow. Really, that's how I look at a 90-day BPO.
Yep. Love it. Yeah. And I don't really have anything to add on there. So really the last thing is offer process. We already talked a lot about this. Banks are going to have different addendums, their own contracts. Each bank's going to have their own. That's in addition to the contract. Some will allow DocuSign. I don't know if today there are some out there that still mandate wet signatures, and that's changed a lot over the years, but they could still happen. So, make sure that what what those requirements are, for those offers. Again, we talked about QCing that offer. So when you, send it in, it isn't getting rejected. You're not going to just be sending in offers, you guys. They're going to have usually, unless it's maybe a small time bank that only has one REO ever that they're going to list with you. But most your legitimate larger institutions are going to have software that you go and enter those offers in, right? So you're not actually sending the actual offer in until we've come to acceptance on the main terms that you've inputted in there. Can't stress enough the QC process, dude. Like, do not double, triple check, again, names, all the information, making sure everything's signed right, whatever. But then also when you're inputting those different offers in, making sure, because you'll come in on a Monday morning and it's not uncommon to have 100 offers to submit. Right? Well, look, I get that's a lot. You got shit to do and you want to rush that process and get those in as quickly as you possibly can. Slow down, man. Take the time to, hey, double check it, triple check it, have your checklist, make sure when you click that send button to the asset manager, right, with those different offer and or offers, everything in there has been QC'd and is fully accurate, right? But any kind of, again, top tips or things that you saw that like your favorite agents did, when it came to managing that offer process?
Yeah, I think, and I actually think these are applicable in today's market too, just for anybody that is out there listing properties traditionally and in accordance with REO. You're getting a bunch of offers. You come in. The number one thing that I think is you have to vet those offers, right? You have to have had a conversation with the lender. But the first time I saw it was, it was a mad rush in like 2010, 2011, when FHA buyers were starting to come back into the market. And we were starting to see multiple offers where we'd have 40 or 50 offers on one property. And you would see that somebody was just trying to, like, I always coach my buyers. I'm like, look, I don't give a shit what you have to do. Just get under contract. That's the very first stage. Don't worry about repairs. Don't worry about inspections. Don't worry about anything. Just get under contract. That's the first step. And there were agents that would come with that same mentality. So $200,000 home, they would just throw out a 250 offer. And they would say 250 FHA. I just want to win the offer. Inexperienced agents would send that over and say, look at this great offer we got, it's $250K. But on the back end, I know that if the property doesn't appraise, we're going to reduce to the appraised value. I know I can't use that FHA appraisal for 6 months. I'd be stuck with it. I'd have that case number assigned to it. So I actually made my team start verifying funds that to support the difference between the sales price, between our list price and the contract price. And I was saying, look, if you're telling me you'll pay $20,000 over, show me assets. Show me that you have the ability to do that. In some cases, we would make that the earnest money, and then we would proceed with that. But it was the agents that were basically getting rid of the bullshit offers to start with. That was number one, vetting those. But number two, making sure that they were submitted. So I know I shared this a while ago, I think probably just with our group, but I did a whole deep dive for Green River where I said, look, here is exactly where we're wasting all our money. And it was agent training. That's what started this whole thought process, over 10 years ago. But it was, we're spending so much money training our agents, and our asset managers are spending so much time. The average asset manager rejects a contract 5 times before they accept it. So that means I got to keep going into that thing, going through every single page of the document, sending back the corrections to you, waiting for you to do them, come back, then I got to review them again. And when you're managing 500 assets, that just sucks your day up, right? So if an agent is scrubbing that document, like you'd said, do they have the correct name? Do they have signatures everywhere? Are the boxes all complete? Did they include the addendum? Did they include their pre-approval letter or proof of funds? Because we looked at it on the backside, just some transparency for you guys. Everybody, it's always a cover your ass situation. I know we've talked about that in some scenarios where you've got to, there are times when we talk about this, I guess, primarily in the financial section of REOU, where we're like, dude, cover your ass. Like, get out there when you're doing your inspections, you're noting when somebody approves for you to do something because you want to be reimbursed at the end of the day. And, like we talked, the advantage of me being on the inside was I used to have those arguments with the VPs and the owners all the time when they were trying to shit on the agents and not like make them eat these costs. Like I was always pro agent the whole time there, and it caused some conflict, but it was always in the best interest of the agents. When you're looking at these offers, if something comes over, you'd be amazed at how many times people get their congressman involved in the offer process constantly. If somebody, especially on the VA, I answered numerous calls where somebody would submit an offer, a vet would submit an offer, they submitted it at list price, they didn't get the house, and then they complained to the congressman because they said, hey, they offered the property for sale, I made an offer at that price and they didn't take my offer, there's something going on here. And I had to handle all those congressional inquiries, and I had to type up a timeline of everything that happened. And we would always fall back on documentation, and we had this saying in there that said, if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. So we never just took what somebody was saying. It was, did we have a note in the system? Did we have a task in the system? And with offers, our fallback was always, was it a complete offer in the first place? If somebody said, I submitted an offer, but the name was wrong, it was missing pre-approval, it had a missing initial or something like that, we would deem that that was not a valid offer. Therefore, we did not have to review it, so we could proceed with this one. And that was a policy we took so that we could protect ourselves, because I think that I love doing this because I think a lot of agents don't grasp the amount of REO that's out there. Right. And we keep thinking in mindset of like 1 to 2, 3 to 4 here. You did thousands. Just the VA, when I went to the VA, we boarded 5,000 assets the first day. So you're looking at 5,000 possible complaints. I guess actually probably more, because once those are getting offers, now everybody that's made an offer is a potential complaint or congressional inquiry down the road. So that's the number one thing I think with offers, is that your job is to make sure that they have been vetted and they come across as clean as possible, so I can go through and make a decision, because I'm not just looking at yours, I'm looking at 30 offers on your property and 30 offers on the other 500 assets that I have, right? So I need to be quick. I don't want to have to reject the task and redo all the stuff. So I think that's the number one thing with offers, is be that upfront person to vet them, make sure they're right.
Yep. Love it, dude. So let me ask you this, man, as we're ending this series, what is from that, like, because again, you're experienced an asset manager, plus you leading other asset managers, like you have the water cooler talks, like, right? What is what would you say the percentage is, like maybe 95.5 or whatever of, like the agents that actually fully just went pro? And what I mean by that is took this stuff serious, all the things that we're talking about, chose to be fully committed to this process, take it very serious, and be fully committed, versus just kind of the lackadaisical amateur agent. Like, what was the percentage of agents where you're like, God, these agents are paying the ass, versus, the percent that were like, hell yeah, I love this. But like, if you talked about this before, but like when you would switch from, let's just say, Green River to VRM or whatever, where you're like, all right, there's certain, certain agents that I was like, dude, when I signed up with this new, or started this new career, not career, but with a new outsourcer or a new bank, like you made sure you took those agents with you. Yeah. Right. Like what was that percentage?
I would say 5 to 1%, if that.
Yeah.
There were so many people, and I don't know, I think I probably told you, but I actually won a process and improvement contest that the company that Green River launched, because they were just like, how do we become more efficient? And my response was, only work with your top agents. So give them as many assets as they can handle, train them so that they're completely loyal to you. Stop making them go to other outsourcers to eat. Like if everybody's fishing in different ponds for business, then they're not loyal to one. I said, I want just the ones that are going to do everything I ask them to do, and I will feed them all day. And that's what won. That was the attitude we took as the whole company, was work with the best, keep them in business, they'll keep us in business. That's the whole thing we took. But it's funny when you say that, because really, if Chantel Ray asked me the other day when she emailed me, and she's like, hey, who should we talk to for agents? And it's like 10 names come to mind right away. Out of 11,000 plus sold properties, 10 names come to mind right away, because those are the ones that it was a business. Like the Beckham brothers, that was a business. Judy Rasmus, Sean Rasmus in Georgia, they were managing 700 assets at one point. They had their own internal asset managers. That was a business. I really want to go through one day and see if we actually ever crossed paths before, but I didn't do Fannie Direct. So like, I may not have, but AZ, he's one of the guys I think about, because he was my go-to. And I've called him many times saying, I'm moving this over to you. I need a miracle. Can you do it? And his answer was always yes. Right. So Stuart Young in Arizona was another guy. Like, so there's only just like this handful of people that when they did it, they said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go big. And their commitment was always to the client. Like that was, the rest of them seemed like you were bothering them, or like they were doing it because their broker said it was a good thing. And the ones that really grasped it, they were the ones that were turning. And dude, some guy was at an REO convention one time, and this guy shows me the Bentley his wife bought him for his birthday, doing Vegas REO. He was a guy that was committed, like he lived and breathed serving our account, and it paid off. The dude, I don't even know how much money he made, but there was so much money in it, but not just from our side. It was from the listings and the name recognition and getting those repeat buyers. And he was building up his investor pool and another great rehab property, courtesy of whatever company, even though Freddie put in the $5,000 to repair it. Like he was just so smart at leveraging all that stuff. So I would say 5% max. I think most of them are it's onesie twosies, but that's also, I'm realizing it's just like this business here. Kim was nominated as one of the top home partners agents, and one of their top, they sent out this thing and they said, the top producing agents did three to four deals this year. She did 30. Like, that's somebody who has taken one program and mastered it and exploded it. The people who do that same thing with REO, that understand how powerful it is and they master it, will make a fortune. It's so easy to stand out. It really is.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to ask you that question. That's what I wanted to ask you that, because it's like, again, just to make sure that you guys that are watching and listening to this, understand the power of that is, you have 95 to 99% of all of the other agents that your asset managers and so forth are working with. Dude, when you are fully committed, it's like fishing with dynamite, right? And again, this you become a victim of your own success in this business, man. You get loaded up like crazy. I mean, I went very quickly from, getting a property a week to getting 90 a month and having days where I'm getting 15 to 20 dumped on me in one day, right? Which creates a whole new set of new problems, and you got to learn how to scale that and grow that and build a team around it and so forth. And again, that's a whole new set of new problems, but those are good problems to have. Right. So just understand, you guys. Yeah, dude, does it take more commitment to go pro? Does it take more focus, and so forth? Yes. Yeah. Right. But the upside is so worth it, and you will fucking clean house. And now I never did this kind of production when I was in REO, but consistently did, a million plus every year in REO. Yeah. Right. When I say in REO, it's not like we're still not doing distressed properties today. I'm talking about like that 2008 to 2012, when that was, 90% of our listing business, right? But I can't think of a year that we didn't do at least $1 million, and our peak years in that period were probably closer to 2 million, from a GCI standpoint from commissions. But I know some agents, right, that were top of the top in the country that were doing 5 to 10 million a year in GCI. So it becomes massive, dude. And can be massive, right? So the payoff is worth it. And as we end this series, man, I hope that you guys, take this stuff to heart, understand the power of this. And we created this in such a way where you can use this as a reference. You can keep coming back to this. And now you guys know, though, what to do and why it's important, right? So that's what this whole series has been about, is what to do and why it's important. Because when you know what to do and why it's important, then you can go out there and figure out how to do those things at a high level and truly master them at a high level and go out there and just freaking crush it with these. And, for those of you that are looking for, I guess that shortcut, right, for, okay, how do I do this? Now that I know what to do and why to do it and why it's important to do it. If you want to eliminate all guesswork of okay, how do I do this step by step? Again, I know we've talked about this in other series, but Ben and I created REO University. Even though it's called REO University, there is short sale training in there too. So it's both. But again, REO is so much more in depth. It's like 90%, REO, about 10% short sales, because short sales is a more simplistic process, but encompasses both in there. Where you guys can, again, we walk you through step by step on how to do all of this, give you, trackers, a lot of resources, whatever tools and the information that you need that we can provide you guys to go out there and eliminate the guesswork. We're walking you through live BPOs, we're walking you through live property inspections. We're, walking you through every step of this process, so again, now that you know what to do and how to do it, what to do and why to do it, then this backs it up with the how-to step by step and so forth. And so if you guys want to check that out, we'll have a link below, REO University. There'll be a link below where you can go to the website, look at it, check it out. There's some demos on there, information on there. If you are going to sign up, make sure that you use promo code REO University, all caps, all one word, all together. It's going to save you $500. So you get the whole entire program for only $997, split up into 3 payments of it's like $333 a month. You get lifetime access to the training, right? So it's a lifetime access for it. So go check that out if you want it. It's there for you. So with that being said, Ben, man, this has been a awesome, amazing series with you, dude, and appreciate you making the time and being here, man. This has been dope, dude.
Oh, you too, man. I love the information that we're given from both sides. And I would also like to say, hey, everybody that made it to part 8, that's been watching through this. I mean, these are people that are going to go get shit done, and they're going to make an impact because, you've got to commit. The agents that succeeded were the ones that committed to excellence. And like we've said time and time again, it's so easy to stand out when you have committed that. So I appreciate you. I always love doing these conversations with you. It's a blast. And I think this was fun. I think it was good.
Yep, 100%, my friend. And those watching and listening, as Ben just said, man, if you made it to this point, we commend you. That is awesome. Yep. I don't know what the drop-off rate is, but I'm guessing, probably only 10% of our podcast listeners or whatever have made it to this point. So commend you guys, for your commitment to your own business and your own success and so forth. And truly appreciate you guys being here. Truly appreciate all your support. Keep up the amazing work. Keep kicking ass, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
See you guys.
I hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.